Hi, everybody. Dan D. Federigis of Saratoga Report, and I am here with the Commissioner of Public Works, Chuck Marshall. You may have seen him. We've talked on this platform in the past, and Chuck is here with us today. Although this is sponsored content, and there are elections coming in the fall, and this certainly is geared towards the fall elections. We're not. This is not a discussion in the typical campaign sense. We want to have more of a kind of a fun policy level discussion, and Chuck wanted to have this as impromptu as ever. We don't have a specific agenda. I mean, I have some questions I want to ask, but we didn't share it. We didn't plan this. It's going to be an honest back and forth discussion. Um, Chuck, as we sit here on a Thursday afternoon, a good part of downtown is without electricity because a transformer blew somewhere, I think near Congress Park. At least that's where some of the buildings I saw is as far into the west side as Domino's Pizza on Washington Street, and who knows how far else this goes. How how does this? You're the Commissioner of Public Works. You've got staff you delegate to, and you do a good job delegating. You're smart about that. But how does a power outage like this affect the city, and how does it affect Public Works? It's so timely. I just want to ask you that.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it affects, the call comes in through dispatch, and when then there's a public works component, it gets shuffled through the departments to us. A couple of Saturdays ago, there was a similar outage. In that instance, what we did was we contacted public safety to see if there was a public works need, and then spoke with several of the business owners to see what was the cause. And ended up not being something that, for lack of better terms, the city could control. And then we just try and work with National Grid to the best of our ability. In this instance, again, it's not a city directed initiative or city directed maintenance issue. So we're just, there to play a support role.
Okay. And I've been in government in many different ways all my life. I've lived here, oh God, almost 20 years now. So I've got a pretty good idea what Public Works does, but I don't know it all. And some of the people here watching may only know 50% of what Public Works does. Could you give a quick overview, kind of an elevator speech, so to speak, of just what does the city of Saratoga Springs Public Works? I know it's a pretty good list. As much as you can. I don't expect you to give me the exhaustive list, but an
Yeah,
overview of
I mean,
what
without
you
getting
cover.
into, your specific numbers, I mean, we managed all the city streets. We have jurisdiction over certain state routes within the city. County has county jurisdiction. So that would be both paving and plowing. We're responsible for all yard debris pickup. We maintain all the city-owned buildings. We maintain and operate all the pump stations within the city until they tie into the Saratoga County Sewer District. And then we also produce all the signage for city properties, streets, decorative signs, the Canfield Casino, the Carousel. So literally anything that's, for lack of better terms, a city-owned property or a public space.
And our water supply, right?
Yeah, we do. Lofberry Lake is a city-owned water supply. We have our own water treatment plant, and then the distribution network.
And there is a ton of work going on over there with the dam and the lake on Arterial 50 there. And I'm a news person. I have Saratoga Report. I don't know specifically what is being done, but it is a gigantuan task. It looks like. Can you explain what's happening there?
It's basically a dam replacement. It's, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation requires that all municipalities with dams, for lack of better terms, own the dam. And in owning the dam, we're required for the replacement of its infrastructure. And that's what this is. It's approximately, I forget the exact number. I think it's a $9 million project overall. But as I sit here today, I anticipate it coming in both under budget and on time.
Wow, words you don't hear in government too often. Now let me
Well,
ask you.
and again, just I want to go backwards. One of the things that I've learned, quickly is to kind of like both, acknowledge in the positive and negative things that started before me. So this project was undertaken before my time. And a lot of the on time and under budget really go to the city engineer, James Salway, Matt Zeno working with the contractor to ensure that that's delivered that way.
Good for you. And this, and I don't really understand the details of city finances, but since we pay a water bill, is this a completely separate fund from the tax fund from where we get
Yeah,
taxed on?
well, it's a weird. So water bills are for again lack of better terms, user fees. You're a water district customer, because you could be a water district customer and not live within the city.
Okay.
We have outside district users who pay a different fee rate, and that its accounting is effectively separate. And the same thing holds true for sewer. And a large part of our sewer bill just goes to pay Saratoga County, which is ultimately where our effluent is handled.
Oh, okay. And I'm curious, just because you brought it up, I'm such a nerd. I'm enjoying this conversation immensely. Who out like give me a couple examples geographically or specific businesses outside the city are getting Saratoga water.
We have specific. I can't give you like specific names, but there are residential developments in Wilton, commercial developments in Wilton. There's a request currently pending from the town in the town of Milton, and there are some in the town of Greenfield. Obviously before my time, I believe Stewart's became an outer district user in the town of Greenfield, along with Prestwick Chase.
Okay. And when you said there's one pending, what is the process for them to get approved or denied, perhaps?
Yeah, so someone literally just sends an email or a letter to whether it's myself, the city engineer, or Brett, the water treatment plant operator, requesting a service extension. We evaluate that internally as to the cost benefit ratio and what the can the district support that type of expansion or use, and then subsequently from a cash perspective, is it worth the investment? One request recently from a residential subdivision in the town of Wilton, it was not worth the investment. And again, we have to return to those customers to say, we're spending your money. And in this instance, it was not worth it.
Okay. This may be dry to some, but I actually find this very interesting. And you charge them a higher rate than maybe a city resident? Do we make
Yeah, outer
money?
district users there's a small multiplier that's on it. I can get the rates for you, but again, because we didn't prepare to talk about and going back to like the finding it interesting. I mean, my life, similar to yours, has been in some facet of government or not. I interned at the state assembly. I worked at the state assembly. I, left the state assembly to go to graduate school for public administration. I interned at the Department of Civil Service, and then I went back to the assembly, ultimately departing from the Office of Research and Program Development, and then went to Clarkson, where I got a degree in civil engineering. So when I came back from Clarkson, I worked at a municipal consulting firm. Again, all we did was government work, and then I got the job at Stewart's. So all I've done is government work in some capacity or another. And if it wasn't, planning board, zoning board work at Stewart's, the only other government or quasi-government roles I've played, I was a member of the Saratoga County Sewer District, and I was on the Saratoga Springs Planning Board for 3 years, where I left as the chair.
When you were running for office, you listed an estimate of how many government meetings you attended. Go there, would you?
It's easily over 500. I mean, town board, village board, city council, and then planning, zoning, architecture review for the same levels of municipality. I don't do a lot of county meetings because there's typically not a lot of regulatory approvals needed at the county level. But I have participated in some county planning board reviews pursuant to the 239M referral process.
And you've only been in office for less than a year now, and I think it was Tom Lewis that might have said this to me, that you said even before the seat came up, like maybe years back, like because of your experience and your resume, you said, first of all, you said, I have no desire to run for public office pretty much whatsoever. However, the Commissioner of Public Works is, and I don't want to take your thunder or speak for you, but you had a passion for it, right? You have a passion for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we have a unique form of government, and that's an understatement. And because you run a department and then subsequently sit on the city council, I have a skill set I think that's very unique, that overlaps both my current work and my previous professional experience. Um, and that really is what it boiled down to for me. And I've said that to several people within City Hall, that if it was just a city council seat, I'm uncertain I would have pursued it as aggressively as I did. But running the department really fits a niche I think I have. And to that effect, I mean, there have been some water main breaks and sewer main breaks in my time, and they've been handled, almost so effectively and efficiently that they were without service disruptions. Again, I'm not gonna stand here and attempt to take credit. I'm not in the hole digging pipe. I'm not, digging trenches and stuff like that. But on the regulatory process side, I'm very comfortable with the procedure.
And it shows things are going very well with Public Works. A lot of areas of the city, city council meetings are a different story, just the craziness there. But I mean, the actual, so the government services that we're receiving as citizens here, you really can't have too many complaints. It's just like you said, the leaves are picked up. Just even right down the streets are good. The water is good. Just everything seems, knock on wood, very few issues.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, we have the things that come up. It's the nature of doing, business, if you will. And my job is to, prioritize and address. And sometimes addressing means we're not gonna do anything. There are instances where we just can't. And it's somewhat painful to acknowledge those. But like the code prevents us from, working on someone's private sidewalk. I mean, in the city, homeowners are responsible for the sidewalk, and some people own hundreds of feet of it. So while we can't really help, it's again like our job to look to see what we can do and what we can't.
You've been in for I'm gonna guess 6 months, 7 months now, and you just seem so seasoned about this. You don't get lost in the weeds. You seem to know you are in command of everything. You delegate to the right people, but you've got a good command of it. It seems.
Yeah, I mean, again, I only ran because I thought that that's what the people deserved. And I didn't want to do it. I'm certainly I work enough in my private sector job, and between that and my family, it's a consideration. But again, traveling the state and outside of it the way I do, to come home and watch my city struggle with some of the administrative elements was enough for me to get in the mix.
As far as public works goes right now, what is, and this could be something positive, a vision you have, or this could be something, I won't say negative, but a problem you have to address, the dam, right? It has to be replaced. What is your biggest issue right now, you, the Commissioner of Public Works, in your executive role for Public Works?
When I met with one of the first times I met with the supervisors of the street crews or the various crews, we were meeting with an architect who was presenting. We have a facility over on Division Street, where DPW is operated effectively. We'll call it 1975, when that building was built, and for 50 years they've been living out of it. And then most recently it's obviously shown its age, and it has some code compliance issues and a bunch of things that are, for lack of better terms, reached their useful life in the building. So the architect was like, and this is wrong and that was wrong, and I just paused him and I said, all right, these guys don't need you to tell them what's wrong with their building. I mean, they've been here 20, some of them have been there 25 years. I think that the answer we have to look to, or what we have to look to, is an answer for how we can fix it. And that's probably the biggest, most aggressive thing I'm going to work on, is the relocation of the DPW garage out to Weibel Ave. The report identified 3 potential locations, all on city-owned land. The Weibel Ave one is the most, again, with my experience in real estate development, is the most suitable for that type of development. And one of the other things, and this is a very sincere, because you mentioned, my ability and willingness to delegate. My deputy is a guy by the name of Tad Romer, and just so everyone understands like how I do things, like Tad and I knew each other. He was previously on the design review board, and we overlapped at the planning board, having met really and only in those instances. Um, I offered Tad the job based on a series of conversations we had and some overlapping experience. But Tad's a licensed architect. So where I'm deficient in the realm of building specifics, he really picks up the ability there. So the relocation project is one that was like very natural for him to work on, the not necessarily the zoning and the mechanics of like selling the property and selling the land where we are, but in ensuring that the building that we need meets the department's ultimate desires.
I don't know if it was a city council meeting, a pre-agenda meeting, or if I read in a news article, but and stop me or correct me.
Wait. Oh, and he's a Democrat. So just so we're again, like I
Okay.
know, like no political hack here. He's a Democrat. So just go on.
I did not know that. Okay. Now I lost my train of thought. No, I got as I understood it from the big picture for the positive uh, of this plan of yours is, first of all, we have an outdated facility that to put money into it, it would be putting money into the old jalopy. Is that correct? Okay. And it will just be foolhardy. We have land that the city already owns out of Weibel Avenue, which will give them some room to breathe and so forth. I didn't even know until about a year ago. I work right in Franklin Street. I didn't even know about the Division Street facility. I just sort of was walking one day there. I was like, oh my goodness, there's a big facility here. But that land that is really not well functioning for the city right now because of the problems you just listed is still valuable land, right?
Oh no, it's
Take
probably
it from
some of
there.
yeah, it's probably some of the most valuable land in the city. In fact, it's 4.2 acres.
That
I
much.
think yeah, I think the city council would have to develop a plan for what the zoning would be, because right now it's institutional municipal use. So again, no one's gonna come in and build a subsequent facility when we're trying to relocate. But the benefits of removing truck traffic from that neighborhood, the surrounding neighbors that deal with idling trucks and backup alarms and sand storage. So again, like getting that facility out of that neighborhood is a huge asset, and a huge opportunity. You can return Adams Street across and tie into, I think it's is it Bensonhurst? But nonetheless, like return the grid to the way it was, and really restore that neighborhood in a large way.
That's great. You told me as well. Another thing I love about you is we barely prepped for this. You said, Dan, I want this to be not boring, not scripted. And you never say to me, don't ask me these questions. You say, Dan, ask me anything. So I'm going to ask you something. And I'm probably getting way far ahead of you here because I'm just getting excited. So obviously housing would be a likely component of what goes in there, right? Would it be a chance for some of it to be workforce housing and so forth?
Yeah, I mean,
Conceptually?
I don't, the only thing I'll say up front, and again, I think I mentioned this at the city council meeting that night, is as we look to restrict the uses, we further, restrict the value.
I see.
So if someone came in and said, I'm willing to build a brand new DPW facility, and then here's, for lack of better terms, the zoning I would need. I think that has to be evaluated to minimize the public side expense of this. Like if we don't have to come out of pocket for the taxpayers, we should evaluate the zoning. And speaking with some of the neighbors, I think that they're understanding that multi-level housing could potentially be a component. But again, in the conversations I've had, that's better than the DPW garage that's there today.
And I realize I'm
I
getting
just
5 years ahead of us here.
Yeah, no, and I just don't. I'm very cautious about hedging my bets to say it has to include X, Y, or Z. Again,
Yeah.
only because on the purchase side, I don't want someone who, if someone was going to come in and put in a nonprofit use, or if someone was going to come in, what if the school district wanted it? Like I just don't want to limit the people that are going to take a look at this, because the more buyers we have, the more value it has.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I just got excited. How often does a 4.2 acre parcel in the middle of the city potentially become available?
I can
I'm
tell you
enjoying this.
that
I
there
hope
are
some people
not,
who are watching this are
I can
enjoying
tell
it.
you that there are almost no 4.2 acre parcels in the interdistrict.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and certainly none that are available.
no.
Yeah. Let me shift a little bit. Going back to the, you didn't want to shy away from any subject here. Let me shift a little bit over to the former senior center on, tell me the street name over there again behind
It's at 5 William Street.
Williamsburg. Thank you. That is empty. It's currently empty
Yep.
because the new
Well,
senior
no, no,
center
no,
will be
no,
open.
no, no.
Oh, that's
Rise.
right. That's right.
Rise has its administrative offices there, and I think again, like that's an important detail to remember.
I forgot about that.
I voted in favor of the planning board recommendation. Commissioners Moran and Sangvi voted in favor of the actual legislation that would prohibit a homeless shelter within 1,000 feet of a school. So Rise can't offer homeless services, and that's also something that's built into the lease.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
their administrative offices are under construction on Adelphi Street. Because of a weather element, they faced a delay, and they were scheduled to already be out or be out come August.
Okay.
We recently extended their lease through the end of the year, with full anticipation that they'll be out in time, for the sale to proceed.
Okay, but I guess my point I want to make was the senior center is long gone. They're over at the YMCA on a
Right.
really beautiful, modern, big facility. And the former senior center will be empty. And let me not describe it wrong. You take it from there. What do you propose happens with that building?
Yeah, I mean, for the fact that we haven't occupied it in the number of years that we haven't, my position is that again is a building that's worth in a 2024 estimate it was $1.5 million. Maybe the market's gone up slightly since then, but my point is like we spend about $500,000 a year just under for homeless services. Currently, Rise was the only respondent to a recent RFP that would extend them through 2026. I think everyone's in full acknowledgement and support that we need to extend Rise. They do great work for the city and currently offer the only service in that realm. But there's no designated fund for homeless services. So as Saratoga County looks to, work with Shelters of Saratoga on their Ballston Avenue project, we have to consider what the future of homeless services in the city looks like, and this will establish a fund for doing so.
The sale of that building.
Yeah, it's my intention that sale, goes into basically a line item that will create a reserve for homeless services. Right now, I think the majority of Rise's money comes from the mayor's budget, and then is supplemented by settlement money from opioid funds.
Okay. And tell me again. I think I heard it. How much does the city spend on homeless services per year?
I think last year was 481,000. It's either 481 or 487, something like that. I think Rise's response to the RFP this year was like 502.
And so that the total of that is what we pay to Rise. It's not a smattering of different categories.
Yeah, it's just, it fluctuates around that $500,000 mark, and that is what we pay to Rise. I mean, in total, the county spends about $6 million. And again, without getting into the real nitty-gritty of homeless services, there's just the county spends about $6 million, and currently Rise is ineligible for that reimbursement program for a variety of reasons that I don't control.
Okay. Okay. This is I'm enjoying not only the context of this or the subject matter of this conversation, the substantive subject we're talking about, but the context of it. How often can we just relax and talk about public policy? Again, it'll be dry to some. They're not still watching because if they started, they wouldn't have gotten this far. But others that care about how their city is run, that care about important things, their tax dollars, how we serve the homeless, how we serve a lot of other people, how we handle the real estate. This is good, and you just don't get a chance to do this.
Yeah, no, and that's again why, I said it should be unscripted. I mean, I walk down the street and I get a variety of questions. I mean, some of the bigger transitions of being, for lack of better terms, an elected or public official is just like, I'm at my daughter's orchestra concert and, hey, Chuck, where are we on this? Or why don't we do that? Or, you know, and then some less pleasant comments, but you
Yeah,
take it in stride.
it can be. I've not done public office, but I have done union office. It can be thankless. It can be wonderful though too. I hope you're experiencing some of the good things as well.
Yeah, no, there are definitely instances where we have an obligation to help people, and we do it. And again, I'm on the implementation or decision making level, and I'm not going to take credit for the guy who's really, digging a hole or operating a shovel. I'm just, they should be recognized. I mean, we had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago where we recognized an employee that was his union um, nominated by his peers.
I
I
saw
think
that.
the official title of the award was like the You Can or Never Give Up. It was like the Never Give Up Award, and it featured Rob Wheelock, who's on our beautification crew. So anyone that drives up or down Broadway, Union Ave, I mean, those are kind of the big ones, and sees all the plantings in the median, the plantings on the sidewalk, Congress Park. I mean, the guy just never stops. But nominated by his peers, recognized, and selected. And that's the type of DPW worker we have. I mean, there are a lot that go unnoticed. They plow streets and pick up yard debris, but they're the ones that are doing it.
And I believe that was an AFSCME award, like through the unions or
Yep.
something. Okay, yeah, I did see that. My sister and an 80-year-old family friend came into town this week for the Rod Stewart concert. First of all, you probably heard it as well. They said he was positively terrific. And they've been here several times, both of them. But they're just, it's so fun to see an outsider come to Saratoga Springs and their eyes wide, even though if they've been here 10 times already, at how fortunate we are to have such a beautiful, vibrant city with a strong housing stock, a beautiful old Victorian homes, a beautiful downtown with bustling businesses, the racetrack, SPAC, Cafe Lena, so many other things that I'm not saying. I got to tell you something. My daughter played basketball at Eastside Rec last night, and I'm looking around. I was like, what what a gem Eastside Rec is. I never appreciated it before, other than it's a nice park. Good, we can get to go.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
people
well,
playing.
again, like you got pickleball that's
Yes,
huge. It's my understanding Thursday night pickleball over there is really lengthy, wait list and stuff like that.
they were there into the
Um,
dark. It was
yeah,
88 degrees, and they were playing pickleball.
yeah. But again, like we just added, and again, I'm not, I'm the one that gets to cut the ribbon. I'm the one that gets to take the credit, but a project that started before me. We just unveiled a pump track over behind the ice rink. It's the first pump track within like an hour, maybe even two. And someone that I work with just said to me the other day, he's like, I was there, it was packed. People were here from Kingston.
Wait,
And that's
what is this item that you're talking about?
so it's a Velo Solutions pump track. It's basically like a bicycle park that's got ramps and embankments and different
Oh, yes,
obstacles.
yes, yes.
So
Yeah,
it's
there
like
was a lot of press on
this.
that. I'm sorry, I missed the
It's all right.
terminology.
But
Yeah.
it's similar to like the skate park that is at Eastside, but it's for bikes. So again, just a big draw. Someone, Saratoga Shredders had the vision. They went to Jason Golub. Jason Golub, made it happen through the council, and it was constructed in 6 weeks, and now it's open. And it's becoming a destination, and that's phase one of three. And if we build phases 2 and 3, from what my coworkers claim is that we'll have people constantly there. So again, like making those destinations, making the city a draw for people is a huge asset. But the other side of that is that we have to, like, that's again why, like, returning to the William Street thing, like we have to plan, because if we want to build bike parks, like you have to balance bike parks with homeless services. I mean, given the choice, I'm going to choose people, and their housing, but I want to make sure we have the opportunity to continue to do both.
I Let me ask you this question about Jason Golub. He's the past commissioner. So he's got some, at that level, he's got the institutional history for, at least a couple of years he was in. What is your relationship with him as on a professional level? Could you give him a call and pick his brain and on something?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's gone through enough where, I haven't picked up the phone to call him. If it got to a point where I was like you started this, like what, could you kind of guide me? I wouldn't hesitate to do that.
And knowing Jason, he would pick up and he would guide you.
Yeah, and again, like it's not because of a fear that he won't take my call that I haven't done that. It's just that I don't like again, like with some of the other surrounding issues, I feel like he's, had his time and deserves his peace. But
Yes.
again, one of the things that is beneficial is Joe O'Neill was Jason's deputy. He was
Okay.
Skip Scirocco's deputy, and Jason still works for the department. He's just
Joe.
returned to his what?
Oh, you said Jason. You meant Joe,
I'm
right?
sorry, I meant Joe. Sorry,
Yeah.
Joe. Joe still works for the department. He just returned to his civil service position. So he's institutional knowledge. He's here. You got probably 100 years of experience over in the supervisors. So again, like that, I have a core group of people that I could ask. Mike Veach has worked for 3 commissioners, and again a large institutional knowledge within City Hall.
Great. Let me wind this hour at 31 minutes, but I think this is good. I hope some people stay with us. Let me go for just going out the door. You're running for reelection. I want to. You are paying for this. This is a great discussion, public policy discussion. But this is your campaign is paying for this. I really want to put this here that you are running for office, and let me let me ask you something going forward. If you are, well, I guess whether you're reelected or not, but a next term, if you are honored by the electorate with a next term on the legislative side, as far as the comity, right? The COMITY, getting along, the gentlemanly, congenial way of not fighting, of recognizing, yeah, we're different parties and so forth, but we need to move forward. We need to work together to get the city going forward. Comity with an ITY. What is the answer? Because there's just so much fighting, lawsuits, and so forth. Which I don't care who's right and who's wrong when I ask this question. Is there a way we can get past it, or is it the nature of the beast?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly, I think it's both. I think that there are certainly rules that we have to amend that will prohibit or prevent conflicts with state law. So I think if we do like some public officers amendments, I think that will eliminate some of the question about responsibility. But when I came in, I was we need to change, the form of government. Like it has to go that way. And the reality is that I learn every day. It's really about the people. I mean, you have like a huge staff of people at City Hall who work every day to make make the lights turn on and the system function. So like I tell my kids, you can't necessarily change everything in an instance, and you have to really work on the fringes. So I think like Vince DeLeonardis and the Charter Review Committee, I think that they're probably you got probably some of the heaviest hands in municipal government. You got Mike Lenz and Stephen Town, Matt Veach, Matt Jones, Vince DeLeonardis. I mean, you got hundreds of years of experience of City Hall operation, acknowledging the pros and cons of the system of government we have. So I think that I look forward to their findings and how we can incorporate them to make it better. But at the end of the day, I think it's really about people.
Geez, well said. I really enjoyed this discussion, folks. We're going to be doing this for the rest of summer. We're not letting Chuck go to the beach with his family or anything like that. We're going to stay here on the camera and talk all summer. But
I don't think that anyone was really excited about the vision of Chuck Marshall at the beach. They're like, he's better at City Hall. Like, just leave him there.
Are you playing pickleball? Because you and I played racquetball in the past, many years back. Are
Uh,
you, are you getting some pickleball
no,
in?
no, I haven't really, I got racket or paddles. I do miss playing racquetball. I just, finding time to do, I have I'm leaving here to go trellis some cucumbers over at Pitney Farm. So just even trying to find time for my garden is a task enough.
Okay, I'm getting over. I'm part of their compost pilot program, and I'm
Yeah.
the guy that keeps screwing things up and violating the rules. So I,
And again, one of the things I pride myself on is like, and I wrote this actually in a letter to the editor, is when I wrote for in support of Matt Veach, is I was wrong about Pitney. Like I thought that at one point the city should have, or not the city, but that the land should have been sold for housing, which there's a need for, and we should have preserved like a larger component of land, like somewhere on the periphery of town, or like we could have supported or sustained like hundreds of acres type thing. But I think that place is just such an asset to the city, and really blends in well.
yes,
So again, like
yes.
I think one of the things I pride myself on is like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I go down that path and I just say like I felt this way, I found this out, and here's my position.
That's great. The nonprofits in this city are really
Oh,
help make,
huge.
all the different ones. Even if there's some that take a strong stance on something that I might disagree with, I still love that we have them. These people are passionate. They love whether it's the preservation or things. Just they love what they're doing. They love what they're doing for the people, for the city, for nature, our heritage. That is so awesome. So, Chuck, I really we had this scheduled, and I didn't know I knew I'd enjoy it. We've talked before, but I really enjoyed it. We've never had a chance just to relax and just have a discussion. So we're going to do this again shortly. Thanks for joining me. And it's open to you. And any last thing you want to talk about, or anything you want to say to before we move on?
No, again, spend money downtown.
Yes,
Again, that's the only thing I could say is enjoy the summer, spend money downtown. We got great businesses, and a gem we need to preserve, and that's it.
awesome. Yes, and some of the restaurants could use your business because when it's 90 degrees out, people don't want to eat as much. So even though it's track seasons when they make money, it's not a given. It's not an automatic. So folks, please do what Chuck just said and get downtown and support the best downtown I've ever known in my life.
100%.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Okay,
Dan.
thanks, Chuck. Thank you.
All
We're doing this again. We'll talk again
right.
soon.